Welcome, Trinidad and Tobago, to our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister hosts her third meeting under the National Conversation Initiative to discuss an end to violence against children, commanding the attention of more than 10 NGOs in attendance. The Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs strongly condemns illegal quarrying practices with calls for an increase in penalties for offenders under the Minerals and State Lands Act. And TNT plays historic friendly game against Argentina but is defeated 3-0 before a stadium packed with 70,000 plus spectators. Thank you for joining us. An end to violence towards children was the aim of the latest National Conversation Initiative, hosted by the Honourable Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar at the Chaguanas Borough Corporal Building on Wednesday. As the initiative progresses, citizens are being called upon to give their input.
The National Conversation Initiative is moving along well, and citizens and various groups are in fact getting the opportunity to voice their concerns with the aim of developing a nation that has room for all. On Wednesday, Prime Minister, the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessar SC, met with various stakeholders to deal with an upsurge in violence towards children. The meeting took place at the new Chaguanas Borough Corporation building and was attended by more than 10 NGOs and CBOs.
Our nation stands as an example to the world, a beacon of promise as a small country that is big on pride and achievement. But within the past weeks, we have seen exposed yet again a very dark underbelly where criminal elements see even children as targets. We have seen teenagers and a 9-year-old boy gunned down by criminals. We have seen the drowning of 2 small children whom were apparently left unsupervised, but that is still under investigation. Everyone will remember the gruesome events which took the life of 11-year-old Akil Chambers in 1998, with still no justice to that family. There can be no greater terror for a young child than to desperately reach out to the ones they love and trust for help and be met instead with aggression and violence. The mental and emotional torture, the anxiety, the sense of hopelessness and fright are unthinkable, and we must, all of us, make the commitment that we will all take on the role as a keeper of our nation's children.
Several issues were raised by those in attendance, and the Honourable Prime Minister agreed to address with urgency many of the shortcomings that exist in programs and policies affecting the nation's children.
Some of the issues that was raised is the collaboration of the NGOs working together, the parenting programs during and after pregnancy. We also highlighted the areas of social media, as Marcus Kissoon stated, and how we can work together as bodies, as organizations, as founders, together with the ministry, with the Prime Minister, in regards to reducing cases of child abuse and domestic violence.
The other thing that was raised were the blockages, the bureaucratic blockages in trying to get through the CPO's office, the other bureaucracy that you have to go endlessly in order to get the funding that has already been agreed, in order to get the people that you need, in order to get the upgrades that you need. I mean, everybody said that, and she took it very seriously.
According to the chairman of the Child Protection Agency, it is the hope of the stakeholders that an agreement can be reached about preventing the upsurge in violence towards children from happening in the future. The Prime Minister said citizens can now look forward to a very strong and responsive collaborative partnership between government and stakeholders. She noted that out of the conversation and the ideas that emerged, discussions with relevant ministries would be advanced with a view to strengthen government's policy and response approaches.
In 2010, I vowed to change our country and to make life better. Today, 4 years later, much progress has been made, but there is still so much more to do. I know that at times you may have felt that we were not moving fast enough or delivering as much as you needed, but I'm not here to make excuses. For everything we do well, there are more things we must do better. And so I re-establish our connection so we can ensure that you have what you need to live full, free, and happy lives. What we have achieved so far came through our sincere belief that the people constitute the government.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Senator the Honorable Vasant Bharath, Minister of Trade, Industry, Investments and Communications, has been praised for sharing the outstanding progress being made under his stewardship in this country to enhance the business environment. The praise comes from immediate past President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Lalu Vaswamy.
The economic course upon which People's Partnership Government has embarked is grounded in a solid foundation of research and understanding of local needs and global trends and the clear vision for the future of this young nation. This has been outlined by guest speaker Senator the Honorable Vasant Bharath, Minister of Trade, Industry, Investment and Communications at the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry's 188th Annual General Meeting and May Business Luncheon. During his presentation, he outlined that government's coordinated efforts were grounded in its National Performance Framework 2012-2015, which outlines 5 priority areas that attempt to measure performance as it relates to the provision of goods and services to citizens. But the Senator's address focused on the 4th area of priority, which is economic growth in the context of macroeconomic stability and sustainability through diversification. He explained that this was done through promoting and developing new strategic sectors, revitalizing traditional sectors, enabling a competitive business environment, strategically managing international relations, promoting innovation and entrepreneurship, and increasing foreign and domestic investment. Following his presentation, Minister Bharath received commendation from the Chamber's immediate past president, Mr. Lalu Vaswamy, for sharing the outstanding progress being made under his stewardship in Trinidad and Tobago to enhance the business environment. Mr. Vaswany said it was a delight to have Minister Bharath at the event. Also in attendance at the AGM and Business Luncheon were President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Tracy Shuffler, Chamber Vice President Edward Clark, and Executive Director Lisa Gale. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
The Trinidad and Tobago government will seek to give citizens greater opportunities to aid in the thrust toward national development. One such way is through private-public partnerships where government service or private business ventures funded and operated through a partnership of government and one or more private sector company.
Government will utilize the private-public partnership modality in order to deliver critical infrastructure and other high-priority projects in a more effective, efficient and transparent manner. This, according to Minister of Trade, Industry, Investment and Communications and Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance and the Economy, Senator the Honorable Vasant Bharath. Minister Bharath was delivering the feature address before a diverse audience of government officials, investors, banking, engineering and legal professionals, contractors and developers at CIBC First Caribbean's 2014 Caribbean Infrastructure Conference on Wednesday, the theme of which was driving Caribbean infrastructure forward. He stated that public-private partnerships combines the best of both worlds, the private sector's resources, management skills and technology, and the public sector's regulatory actions and protection of the public interest. He noted, however, that to work well as a balanced framework, PPPs require well-functioning institutions, transparent, efficient procedures, and accountable and competent public and private sectors. The Honourable Minister then outlined Trinidad and Tobago's existing governance framework, which includes a PPP unit established within the Investments Division of the Ministry of Finance and the Economy, a robust institutional framework, and the establishment of an operational guidelines manual. As part of government's commitment to utilize this modality, the Minister of Trade informed the gathering that there are some 88 potential projects in 5 sectors for implementation using the PPP arrangement, in areas including transportation, utilities, social infrastructure, accommodation and real estate. The two-day regional conference hosted on June 3rd and 4th at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, Trinidad, focuses on understanding how the public-private partnership model may be used to unlock the full potential of infrastructure development in the Caribbean, with emphasis on its application in diverse sectors to generate greater efficiencies and added value for governments and regional stakeholders. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
We'll take a break. More news when we return. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. A further 37 certificates of comfort were distributed to residents of St. Augustine at the Freeman Road Community Centre, St. Augustine, on Tuesday. An official handing over ceremony by the Ministry of Land and Marine Resources took place to mark the occasion. Delivering remarks at the handing over ceremony, Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, Prakash Ramadas, says the certificate of comfort distribution was a promise he made as a candidate in 2010.
I believe in promises, but I also believe in promises fulfilled. And today I'm extremely happy that this is one step in a long and difficult road for many who sit in the audience and many others who are not here today. As a candidate for St. Augustine in 2010, everywhere that I went, the complaint was we need to have our land. We need to have certificate of comfort. We need to have lease. We need to have deed. And today, 37 of you will benefit from the incredibly hard work of the Land Settlement Agency.
The MP sought to thank the Land Settlement Agency for making this promise become a reality.
This is not the end of the game. This is but the beginning. This is where the state recognizes your right for the space you now occupy. And I will leave it up to the good minister, who I want to tell you is one of the smartest, most intelligent ministers I had the honor to work with so far. He has a practical intelligence that I really admire.
Minister of Land and Marine Resources, the Honourable Jairam Simangal, says the certificate distribution was the first step for proper regularization where deeds would be given so that they can have full ownership of their property.
You all would have applied in the year 2000 for a certificate of comfort to the property in which many of you would have occupied long years prior to 2000. Some 14 years ago, many of you would have given up hope that the state would have turned a blind eye to you. Many of you would never have come to the reality that the state would one day recognize that you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and deserve to be treated with equity.
He says what this statement does is that it allows their occupation on the land to be recognized by the state. It will allow the provision for electricity and other resources that would not have been available before.
Over the last 7 months, my ministry have not only given certificate of comfort. Actually, prior to 2010, just under 1,900 certificate of comfort was issued to recipients who have applied in 2000. Over the last 4 years, we have moved that to over 8,000 recipients who have received certificate of comfort.
The minister gave the assurance that by the time the election bell rings in 2015, that his ministry would complete the processing of all 24,000 applications for state land regularization. In other news, the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs is making it absolutely clear that quarrying without a license is an offence and is in contravention of the Minerals Act, Chapter 6103, and the State Lands Act, Chapter 5701. According to a media release from the ministry, government has ensured that this unfortunate and illegal practice is not allowed to persist, explaining that the Finance Bill 2014, which was recently passed by Parliament, will significantly increase the penalties for offences under the Minerals Act and the State Lands Act.
In the last 3 years, government has taken steps to deal with the scourge of illegal quarrying by increasing the penalties to be applied to persons convicted of offences of this nature. According to a media release from the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs, The Finance Bill 2014, which was recently passed by Parliament, will significantly increase the penalties for offences under the Minerals Act and the State Lands Act. This media release was issued by the ministry in response to reports in the local media of an upsurge in illegal quarrying. The release explains that the penalty for quarrying without a license in contravention of Section 45(1) of the Minerals Act will be increased from a fine of $200,000 and imprisonment for a term of 2 years to a fine of $500,000 and a term of imprisonment of 5 years upon first conviction. Reiterating that quarrying without a license is an offence and is in contravention of the Minerals Act, Chapter 6103 and the State Lands Act, Chapter 5701, the ministry notes that upon subsequent conviction for this offence, the fine will be increased from $300,000 and a term of imprisonment of 3 years to a fine of $700,000 and a term of imprisonment for 7 years. In addition, the release states that Cabinet has recently agreed to accept the recommendations of a multidisciplinary committee chaired by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs regarding illegal quarrying. Some of the recommendations of the committee include the amendment of the Minerals Act to include inter alia enforcement provisions to allow for the effective prosecution of offences relating to illegal quarrying, and in particular to include provisions for powers of arrest without warrant, powers of seizure with and without warrants, shifting of the burden of proof as regards quarrying offences, increased penalties for companies regarding fines, attaching liability to the directors of mining companies, and creating indictable offences regarding certain offences relating to mining. The ministry says currently there are persons who are before the courts charged with offences related to illegal quarrying. It has vowed to continue to collaborate with the Ministry of National Security to aid and assist the police service with their ongoing efforts to enforce the law and to ensure that persons who commit quarrying offences are brought to justice. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
Sport news is next. Stay with us. Welcome back, and in sports, as seen here live on TV4, the Trinidad and Tobago senior men's football team went down 3-0 to Argentina in what was an historic pre-World Cup friendly international. Now, despite the scoreline, the Soca Warriors are garnering rave reviews in South America for their gutsy performance, and though disappointed, the players saw some positives coming out of their match with the World Cup favourites when Cunningham caught up with some of the Warriors after the game.
I believe we held our own for 44 minutes. Tell us your thoughts on the game.
I think we had a tale of maybe, 46 minutes. In some parts we did well. It was a bit frustrating for knowing that we had something that we needed to work on, that the times that Argentina did get their chances is because that we gave it to them, and we became frustrated with what we were doing and not patient enough to continue with the plan that we had. In the first half, yes, they had some chances again that we gave to them, and also we had one or two, near chances. But I think for us, it's a learning curve. I'm happy that it happened like that, because I think we can now take a look at it and see the level that we have to get to, and hopefully we can take those lessons from this game.
You can see we're trying to play. We're a team that's trying to play. The coach is trying to get us to play every minute, every time. So yeah, we're disappointed we didn't play as well as as much as we wanted to. But obviously the world-class team that they are, they closed us down. They pressured us really well, made it uncomfortable for us. But yeah, we're trying. We'll keep on trying. We'll keep on plugging away. Keep on trying to play the football we know to play well, and we'll carry on to the next game.
We lose the game 3-0, but we came here on a building stage, to learn and to see how far we have to go again. And this was a learning game for us. And I think the chances that Argentina gets, the most of them we give it, and they didn't just play to how to say, to create a lot of chances. You know, we stay compact as a team, find it more difficult for them to break us down. The opportunities they had, you know, mistakes from ourselves. And, you know, we have another game to go, and it's a learning process. You know, Argentina is a world-class team, world-class players, and, you know, this is just a building process for us at this point in time.
I'm Wayne Cunningham in Buenos Aires, Argentina, for News 4 Sports.
Thank you, Wayne Cunningham. More news after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. As the world commemorated International Day of Innocent Children, victims of aggression on June 4th, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar is urging citizens to take a more proactive role in protecting our children.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar is calling on citizens to take the responsibility of our nation's children seriously. This as she joins in the world in commemorating International Day of Innocent Children, victims of aggression. In her statement, the Prime Minister says a sense of urgency and determination is needed even as a number of incidents involving children have unfolded recently. The Prime Minister noted that the future of our nation was in the hands of our children, and if our civilization today were to be measured by the care we provide for our children, as a people we must all work together to ensure that the country they inherit tomorrow is one that makes them secure in their protection and confident of their future. Highlighting that the increase in aggression and violence against children over recent years has sparked a public outcry, the Prime Minister gave her commitment that her government will ensure that our children live free and comfortable lives with the assurance that they will be protected, cared for, supported and encouraged. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, mother herself, offered a prayer for every child whose life was lost through aggression, abuse and torture, praying that their souls rest comfortably and with no more pain, and found in their names is the need to make every effort humanly possible to protect and care for children. She adds that government's vision for children and young citizens are provided with every opportunity so that they can be supported to develop into grounded, socially adept and intellectually strong adults. Referring to the implementation of universal education through free preschool places for every child, technology-driven systems of secondary education, the provision of technical and vocational training programs, and community-based partnerships were just part of government's thrust in providing for a better life for children. She noted that protecting our children included legislative enhancements and government's expansion in its outreach measures through the provision of full resource and technical support for the Children's Authority and direct intervention parenting and family policies. However, the Prime Minister noted that there can never be a place where government has done enough, as an impetus for stronger action must always underline the advances made for children. She says this is what makes us children's keepers and protectors, as quote-unquote, there can be no greater terror for a young child than to desperately reach out to the ones they love and trust for help and be met with aggression and violence, the mental and emotional torture, the anxiety, the sense of hopelessness and fright are unthinkable, and we must, all of us, make the commitment that we will all take on the role of our keeper of our nation's children. He said these rights for protecting our children are found in the words of former Secretary General of the United Nations, Javier Perez de Cuellar, who said in 1983, on this solemn occasion, we need to recall the sacred duty enshrined in the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of the Child, which states to ensure that all children, without any exception whatsoever, enjoy special protection. Kimberam Calloway, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. Remember, you can view a repeat of our newscast weekdays at 6 a.m. and feel free to visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/OurTV4. I am Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.